What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to just jump right into it, and I am going to be starting a 3-part series today all about macros, aka macronutrients. All right, so we are going to dive right into it. We are going to be answering 6 different questions, 6 different common questions that people have about macronutrients. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's quick and easy and it doesn't cost you anything. And make sure you stay until the very end because I have a secret macro-friendly recipe that I want to give all of you guys to give a try. So essentially, in a nutshell, macronutrients are protein, fat, and carbs. Macros are the nutrients that your body needs in large amounts throughout the day in order to function. So that is where your protein, your fats, and your carbs come into play. So carbs are actually the body's preferred energy source in order to perform all of its bodily functions and muscular exertion. A lot of people are actually very nervous when it comes to eating carbs. We tend to go on crash diets where we just eliminate carbs from our diet completely, and that actually has some very negative effects to our body because our body relies on carbohydrates in order to function, and this is our body's primary preferred source of energy. Carbohydrates do regulate digestion and they utilize proteins and fats. And carbohydrates are generally made up of starches, sugars, and fiber. A lot of people actually think that carbs are only just bread sources, but carbs are in pretty much every single thing that we eat. In all of the fruits that you eat and all of the vegetables that you eat, those are actually mainly carbs. If you look on nutrition labels on the back of foods that you eat, you'll notice that a lot of foods that are not just breads do have carbs in them. There are 2 different types of carbs, number 1 being simple carbs and number 2 being complex carbs. Simple carbs are the types of carbs that you eat if you want to get very, very quick energy, very fast, but it doesn't last very long. Complex carbs are the types of foods that you would eat if you want longer lasting energy, and the energy does not come as quickly as simple carbs. All right, so next we are going to talk about protein. This is a source that our body usually pulls from second. Like I had just mentioned, carbohydrates are usually the first source of energy that our body likes to pull from because it makes energy more efficiently. Protein would be our second source. The primary function of protein is to help build and restore muscle within the body. There is a thing called amino acids, and protein is actually the delivery vehicle for amino acids throughout the body, and this is where we produce our energy from. There are 2 different types of protein, the first one being complete proteins and the second one being incomplete proteins. The complete protein provides all of the essential amino acids, and then the incomplete protein does not provide all of the essential amino acids that we need within our body in order for it to function. Both complete and incomplete protein are very good sources of protein, but clearly we do want to get a little bit more complete protein sources in our bodies each day because we do need those essential amino acids in order for our body to function properly. And last but not least, we get to fats. A lot of people are very, very nervous when it comes to fat. The more foods that you look at, there are fat-free versions of these foods, and a lot of times people will only buy low-fat products or fat-free products because they think that they are doing themselves a justice. And I will go and say that fats are the least amount of macronutrient that we do need in our everyday diet, but fats are absolutely essential in order to allow your body to do the things that you need it to do and function properly. Fats are a very, very main source of how our hormones are regulated. Fats are stored throughout your body, they cushion your organs, they allow you to stay warmer for a longer period of time. So if you have very low fat levels on your body, you will typically be a lot colder. But the main source and the most important source when it comes to fat is that it does regulate, or it helps regulate, your hormones in your body. Saturated fat are typically known as your bad fats. Those are the fats that tend to have a more solid kind of structure. Those do typically cause high cholesterol or issues with your heart and things. These are the fats that we typically would like to stay away from. Your unsaturated fats are actually your good fats. These are fats that are actually liquids at room temperature. They actually do help with your cholesterol levels, and they help with your heart And your trans fats are very, very similar to your saturated fats. They actually decrease good cholesterol and they increase bad cholesterol. These are the types of foods that we would want to try to limit or stay away from more than not, because they do not really do anything good for your body. All right, so question number 2, why is tracking macros important? Honestly, tracking macros is important because it is a very good way of understanding what foods you are eating and how it is benefiting your body. A lot of times we tend to just kind of aimlessly eat foods just because of the taste and just because we like it, but we're not actually fueling or understanding how we're fueling our body in order to make it the most efficient body possible. Learning how to track macros, 1, helps us learn what foods we're putting in our body. 2, it helps us learn how these foods are actually, functioning in our body when we're eating it in order to allow our body to function more efficiently. 3, it helps you learn portion sizes a lot more. And 4, it is just really good because overall you just become a little bit more confident with the foods that you're eating and you're making better decisions when you go and food shop. Now, are macros necessary to track for everybody? I just want to give this information out to you guys that no, not everybody needs to track macros. It is not a necessary thing, but it is a very beneficial way of learning why you're eating certain things and how it is working within your body. We become confident enough with tracking macros that eventually we can start weaning off of tracking macros and just start intuitively eating, so we do not have to track macros for the rest of our life. We would feel comfortable enough to be able to go out and choose appropriate foods or choose proper foods to fuel our body and not feel worried about it at all. All right, so for question 3, what is the difference between counting calories and tracking macros? When it comes to me training my clients, some people would benefit from tracking calories first and then maybe transition into tracking macros. Sometimes it is beneficial for beginners to start tracking calories because all they have to do is just track one number. They are just tracking their calories that they are consuming per day. But then when it comes to tracking macros, we are essentially tracking 3 different items. We are tracking how much protein we are eating, how much carbs we are eating, and how much fat we are eating. The difference between tracking calories and tracking macros, though, is when you are tracking calories, you are not necessarily paying attention to the types of foods that you are eating. So I like to give this example of, technically, if somebody really wanted to, they could go out to Burger King or McDonald's and eat 2,000 calories worth of cheeseburgers per day, but still be within their calorie target range. So yes, did they stay within their calories for the day? Absolutely. If they have a 2,200 calorie diet, they would stay within their range if they're eating 2,200 calories. But what kind of food did they eat in order to get there? Did they eat any kind of nutrient dense foods that are actually going to benefit our body? Or did they eat 2,000 or 2,200 calories just worth of cheeseburgers per day? When it comes to macros, typically, since we are tracking 3 different things, we are making sure that we are eating more nutrient dense foods so we can hit our protein, our fat, and our carbs every single day. When you are tracking macros, it's almost like a puzzle. You are trying to piece together all of your meals and all of your snacks that you are having for a day to make sure that you are hitting your protein, your fat, and your carb goals for that day. When it comes to just calorie counting, sometimes people tend to just eat whatever in order to just hit their calories, even if it's not nutrient dense and if it's not benefiting our body properly. If we are eating 2,000 calories, we could technically eat 2,000 calories just worth of fat and carbs and not eat any protein. And our body needs protein in order to function. But then on the other end, when it comes to macros, we are making sure that we are eating 2,000 calories worth of everything. We are eating 2,000 calories worth of protein, carbs, and fat in order to get an even distribution between all of them to allow our body to function at max capacity. All right, now going on to question number 4. A lot of people say it sounds like tracking macros is a lot of work. Is it worth it? Yes, it is absolutely worth it. I definitely agree with the fact that it is a lot of work, but I tell people this all of the time. There is just a slight learning curve to it. And my example for this is when you are starting a new job. How nervous and how hard is it when you're starting a new job? you're very nervous, and it is very difficult because you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're supposed to do in this job. But usually after you start this new job, after about 2 weeks of working there, you start to feel a little bit more comfortable. You're getting to learn, you know, what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it. You're getting to know people at your job, and your job becomes a little bit easier. It's the same exact thing when it comes to macros. At first, it is very intimidating because it seems like there is a lot to do. It seems very difficult because you are tracking so many different things throughout your day, but once you start doing it, you start getting used to it. Give it at least 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, pretty much every single one of my clients say, wow, you're right, it has become a lot easier, and it's just kind of a part of my day now. When you start tracking macros, you have so much more energy, you have regular bowel movements, your hormone levels are more balanced, you feel happier throughout your day, you have more energy and can do things more, you do things with more ease compared to if you weren't to track macros, or maybe you're tracking just calories and really not eating the most essential or efficient foods. You feel bogged down, you feel heavy, you feel bloated, you don't have a lot of energy. So tracking macros, I think, is absolutely beneficial. Is it necessary for everybody to do? No, but for those of you who do it, I know you will benefit from it. You can tweak your macros a certain way in order for you to meet certain goals. So if you have weight loss goals, you can tweak your macros a certain way in order to lose weight. If you have strength goals, you can tweak your macros a certain way in order to put on muscle. So there are so many different benefits when it comes to tracking macros. It's not necessary for everybody, but I definitely do recommend it. Question number 5. A lot of people will ask, all right, well, if I'm going to start tracking macros, how many macros should I eat? It is all dependent on the person. Nobody in this world will have the same macros. Your macros are dependent off of your age, your height, your weight, your gender, your physical activity levels, the things that you do in your everyday life. So I cannot tell you what your macros are unless you give me your background information, and then I can calculate what your macros would be based off of your background. On top of that, a lot of us have done these crash diets in the past, and those crash diets where you're severely limiting the amount of food that you can eat have actually damaged your metabolism and caused your metabolism to slow down a lot. So then anytime you try to diet again or try to lose weight, you end up hitting a plateau and you can't lose any more weight, and you don't know what else to do because you're starving yourself and you're still not losing any weight. And so for those people, we actually need to do something different with their macros in order to get them at an optimal place to start losing weight again. In a nutshell, I would not be able to let you know what your macros are unless I get more information from you, and every single person's macro counts are going to be different. So there is no one size fits all with this. Question number 6. How should I be tracking my macros? All right, so if you hire a coach like me, who is a nutritionist, a personal trainer, who comes up with your macronutrient protocol for you to hit for the week, how are you supposed to track those macros? I use a specific app with my clients right now, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more information about that in the next video. But basically what you would want to do is download a macro tracking app on your phone. The other thing that you would need to do in order to track your macros is buy one of these. I just turned it on by accident. This is a food scale, and what you would end up having to do is you're going to have to weigh out all of your food that you eat per day, weigh it on this food scale, and then you would end up tracking it in your macro app. And then this is how you are going to be able to keep track of how much food that you're eating per day and how many macros you're eating per day. Like I mentioned before, it is a little bit difficult at first. There is going to be a learning curve to it, and it is like a puzzle trying to put all of the pieces together and trying to fit different foods together in order to make it all work. It does get easier, and it is doable, and you will see changes. All right, so those are 6 common questions that a lot of people ask when it comes to macros. I hope that all of this has helped. Make sure that you stick around for the next videos in the upcoming weeks, because this is a 3-part macro series. Next week, I am going to talk all about how to track your macros using an app, a macro tracking app, and using a scale. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button up at the top. Like I mentioned, it is free and it takes you 2 seconds to do. I really appreciate it, and make sure you stick around for the end of this video because I'm going to show you one of my very favorite macro pizza friendly recipes. I hope that you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.